What's going on, stackers? Now, if you're creating colouring books, then stick around and watch this video because I want to talk about something very, very important. So, welcome back to Stacking Profit. My name's Paddy, and over here we give you the tools and resources to learn, grow and master passive income streams so that you can live a life of freedom. Now, like I said, I've got something very, very important that I want to talk about when it comes to colouring books. So let's go over to Amazon and just type in colouring book for kids. Now, I've already done this just so we can go through and take a look at some of these colouring books, and then I've got some examples of colouring books that I want to show you, because you really should not be publishing colouring books if they look like what I'm going to show you in a second. Now, right off the bat, let's talk about colouring books and what they should look like, especially colouring books for kids. So we got the colouring books for kids up here, so all these colouring books down below are all for kids. Now, one thing that you need to make sure is that they're bright, bold, and they actually look like a colouring book. So if we look on this one, really bright colours, it stands out, bold font as well, and it looks like a colouring book. Same with this one. So we got all the animals there, a bold font, and it looks professionally made. It looks like a real colouring book. And if we go through this first page, you're going to see that with all the colouring books, that they all look professional and they look like colouring books. So if we look here, you can tell that's a colouring book, especially this one. So you can tell this has been professionally made. It looks really good, and again, it looks like a colouring book. Now, what I'm seeing across the board in so many niches are colouring books that don't actually look like colouring books, and these people publishing these books really should not be publishing colouring books because they don't have the skills to do so. So again, looking through this first page, they look professional. That one looks like it's trying to rip off that other one. If we just go back to the top for a second, there we go, that looks like this one. So that's a no-no as well. Don't copy other people's designs. You can clearly tell that that one, if we just find it again, so where is it? There we go. We can clearly tell that they're trying to rip off that other colouring book. Please do not do that. But my point is, these all look like colouring books. They look professionally made, they look legit, and there's no issue. Now, what I've gone ahead and done is just pulled up 3 examples of colouring books that really shouldn't have been published. So this first one, let's take a look at this. Let's go to the images. Let's pull this up. The back looks okay, but this front, look at this. This is not designing. This doesn't look like a colouring book at all. And this really shouldn't have been published. Now, the examples that I'm going to give, I am sorry if these are your books. They're all different publishers, but I'm sorry if these are your books. But this has to be said. You should not be publishing colouring books if you do not have the skills to back that up. Now, what I recommend doing is practice. If you don't have the skills, then practice, put in the work. You can keep creating covers. You don't have to publish them. You can just practice creating them until your skills start to get better, because again, something like this does not even look like a colouring book. You're not really going to make many sales. You might make 1 or 2 here or there, but it's not going to be consistent. You're not going to get consistent sales making colouring books that don't look like colouring books and looks like a 6-year-old create it. Heck, my little nephew, who I believe is 5, could create a better colouring book cover than this, and he hasn't got any skills. Now, let me pull up a second one that I have just here. Just another example. Again, I'm sorry if this is your book, but this has to be said. This does not look like a colouring book. What do you think? Do you think this looks like a colouring book? The examples that I'm going to give you, please leave comments down below letting me know if you believe that these books should have been published, because I believe that they shouldn't. This doesn't look like a colouring book. It looks like they've actually got this image just here and whacked it on a cover, because the what's it called? It just doesn't look right. It looks like it needs to be dragged out, made a little bit bigger, but again, this doesn't look like a colouring book, and creating books like this is not going to really make you any sales, because again, if we go over to Amazon, look at the first page for colouring book for kids, we can see that they're all really professional and they look like real colouring books. So you're not going to make many sales at all trying to create colouring books like this. You don't have the skills yet. I say yet because I never had the skills in the beginning. It took a lot of practice, but you don't have the skills to create colouring books. So again, this is just another example of a colouring book that really shouldn't be a colouring book, and it shouldn't have been published. Now I'm going to pull up one more example because I really want to drill it into you that you should not be creating colouring books if you don't have the skills. So this is another one. Let's take a look at this. So let's get that image up so we can take a look at the cover. And all it says is Bear's Colouring Book for Kids. So that's a background, just a yellow background. Then we have one bear graphic and one font. This does not look like a colouring book. This looks like a 3-year-old created this. Now again, I'm not bashing on the people that created these books. I applaud you for taking action and actually getting stuff done. But again, you haven't got the skills quite yet to start creating colouring books. Start practicing. If you use Canva, just go in there, start creating all these different covers until your skills get better, because this, again, really shouldn't have been published. Now, again, you might be able to make a few sales here and there, but in the long run, this is not going to do very well. Same with all of these. You don't have the skills yet to start creating colouring books. Now, when it comes with me, it's only been the last couple of months or so, 3 months, that I've actually started creating colouring books. Before then, I was creating a lot of notebooks, journals and things like that, because I believed I didn't quite yet have the skills to create a good quality cover. And now I do. I've made close to 4,000 books, so I've put in a lot of practice. My covers are a lot better than what they used to be, so now I feel confident in myself creating covers for colouring books, or just creating colouring books in general. If I were to create a book like this, I would never ever publish it because it just doesn't look professional. None of these do, and I'm seeing this absolutely everywhere in every single colouring book niche. So if you want to start creating colouring books, start practicing creating covers. You don't have to publish those books. Just practice until you get better, because you're not going to make much money with colouring books if your books look like this. Because if we go back to Amazon here on page 1, we can see that this is what you'll be competing with. Very professional colouring books. So again, put in the work, put in the practice, and just get better at designing. Now, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Also, go hit subscribe and hit that little bell icon so you can be notified for any further videos. That being said, I've been Paddy, this has been Stacking Profit, and I'll see you again soon.